Alright, welcome back to another episode of building a village simulation kind of game. Let's see, in the last episode we got the grid working with the building buildings. We still kind of have an error. Let's see if I just look at my errors where it's going out of range. It's weird that it loads it there. Let's see. It's right here. This is out of range. And this might need to be a 4 inches that X is less than it. You know what? This doesn't even check whether or not we've clicked outside our for loop. I would like to actually have let's see. I would like this functionality, I think, separate, so I don't have to retype it every time. Really, this is just checking whether it's in the bounds of it. Well, let's just do it real quick. If location dot x is less than, x is less than 0, or location dot x is greater than the building grid. I thought that's what I already did. Anyways, let's just do this. Building grid dot width is it greater than or equal to? We're just going to return false. Let's not even loop through. Oh, this is probably the error right here. Alright. This debug thing is just probably giving me the error. I do have that right. Let me just get rid of this. Alright, we don't got the error anymore. Okay, it was just that. Let's get really quick. Some kind of being able to switch between building them, so we can test it out. Let's just test this in our click detector. It's going to be testing. And let's do a build. Oops, it's just an int build num, and we're going to say if input dot key up. Oops. On key code dot b for build. So if we click that, we're into build num is plus. You can do plus plus or plus equals 1. Then we're going to say if build num is greater than map manager instance building prefabs count. This is just all for testing, so we can change our buildings. We're going to say build num equals to 0. And down here we're actually building Here, let's just, okay, click for checking a task. Remember, tasks are what the villagers will do, the kind of jobs they do. And then this is going to do click for adding building, and let's change this to, instead of 0 we want to say build num. So the other day I took a trip. I had to drive for 4 hours there, 4 hours back. Oh, look at that. We got little houses. That didn't work though. That did work. Okay, something's this isn't working. Yeah, so so during that trip I obviously had a lot of time to think, driving all that way. Probably it's supposed to be -1 if it's that, or if it equals to it. So I had a lot of time to think about, what do I want this game to become, because I had the Ludum Dare game, which I'll put in the description, a link to that game. But I'm thinking this is probably going to change quite a bit from the original idea, because the original idea was more like, there's this scary forest, and you could, you just had to, your villagers would just walk into the forest automatically, and it was more about, there was resource management in it, but it was more about this scary forest. I think I'm going to get away from that, and I'm going to more focus on the village, building the village, and the simulation of the villagers, and kind of make it maybe as complex as I want. I just keep adding to it. Why is it doing that? Yeah, just keep adding to it. Just maybe these villagers are almost like the Sims, where they have different mood and they have different needs, and they're going to have jobs that they go to, and so we might have a building that is a workshop, and so that workshop might have a certain number of people that can work there. Well, then that villager will go and do that job, but it'll have a schedule for what it will do. So it still needs to go and eat, it still needs to go to his house and sleep, so those kinds of things. Whereas you have other villagers that will just go and they'll gather things. Maybe villagers can, in order to get more villagers, instead of just like in the original game, you just click on the house and it starts, you just add villagers. These villagers will fall in love and have babies, and then there could be like a whole family tree type thing. If there's a lot of stats for the villagers, there could be some kind of like genetics. So you have like, they pass on their genes to the next child. There could be like a form of government, and so maybe you can assign certain villagers to, the government of the village. I'm thinking to do kind of like a fantasy theme with this, medieval fantasy kind of theme. So maybe we have different races of orcs, elves, and things like that. We'll see. But yeah, that's kind of like a little bit of the idea that I was just thinking while I was driving, just making it a little bit more complex and making it more about the village simulation and less about, there's a scary forest to the right. That, I think I still want the resources, that you have to go out and get the resources, obviously, but I think, and there'll still be like enemies or monsters will appear, and so you do have to have like warriors. That was another thing I was thinking, is like, it would be cool to have like you do a building that's like the Heroes Guild, and so some of your villagers can be like heroes, and they have like RPG kind of stats. But yeah, but we're just still at the basic part. So let's go to our house here. Actually, let's do our storehouse, and we're going to add a component, and we're going to add the interactable component to this storehouse. Interactable, why I want it. Let's see. Let's go to my scripts, objects. Alright, actually, this needs to be a store object. Interactable, I think, is a abstract class, so you cannot just add it to it. You can't create an instance of interactable, but you add like the store object, which is inherit from the interactable script. So this right here, gather, this is just a reminder that I have a action called gather. Let's see, you don't need any of those. Task time. Alright, so let's go to our interactable actions. Actually, I have one called add to storehouse. Store. Add to storehouse. This probably doesn't work. See if I can go definition. This probably does nothing. It just destroys the object. We actually need it to move to the inner. No, it should do it. It should do it. It moves to the job. You weren't really here. I didn't start the videos with me programming all that. So let's go here. I guess I already had programmed without testing it. We're going to call it store. Actually, let me go back here to my yes, no. Interactables. So I have a header. So we're going to say actions. So we can do gather. We can do, let's see, gather, pick up, and store. Gather, pick up, and store. Really, this gather thing doesn't basically gather. The villager will go, and if it's a bush, it removes the thing from it. If it was a rock, it would hammer away at the rock, and then it would. So it's basically like the step before actually picking up the object. Man, is that all we have to do? That'd be great. Let's just test it. Actually, store. Yep. Let's just test it. I don't know if this will work or not. So first, we are going to add a storehouse, and then we're going to click here. I'm actually going to click here, and let's go to our task manager. No, this is not working. You know why it's not working? Because I have to add a box collider to these. So let me go interactable. I want to add a box collider. And we do not want that. We want the size to be a 3 by 5. And we want the offset to be 1.5 and 2.5. Okay, and let's do the same thing with the house. And we want this to be 0.5 offset, 0.5. Now this doesn't have an interactable right now, but The interactable will probably be like sleeping or something like that. Okay. Will that work? Well, let's find out. To add that, let me click. Okay, it did work. It did, but it didn't. I don't have it checking whether or not it's actually carrying it. You saw him move to the storehouse. We are probably going to need to have some kind of offset target for the interactable instead of always going to the center of it. But we'll leave that for now. Let's see. Cool. So I tried to interact with it. But it said this was null. Let me just check my interactable. This is store. Let me play this again. Let me add that building and pause it. Go to the do side by side. Let me go to that storehouse. Its interaction is, why can I not see the interaction? I have the interaction string. I guess you can't view that in the inspector. Just throw a debug here, debug log. Store. Action added. Whoops. Let's see. Let's go to how this is working. Interactable, blah, 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 blah. Probably somewhere. I am setting this. Let me go to let me load some of these scripts up. Gather object. No. Resource. That's for picking up those resources. Really interesting. Why is it not? When does it actually set those things? Let me go to my prefab. Let me open up the Let me go to my task manager. It's right here. You can find all references. It's saying the interactable action right there. So what we want to do, just see, maybe in my, can we do public awake? So on awake, we want to set it, set interaction, This is all part of testing. This is in the map manager. So the map manager has set interactable. I probably don't need that. Let me copy this. That was all for testing. Alright, so interactable action string. We should already have the action string. The problem is we don't have, this should just be game object. Game object, and then this should be this. Whoops. And ah man, I just hate that scrolling. See, what happens is I go over here and it's still moving. This is probably something I need to just do. Like if I click here, then I'm not focused on that window anymore. Alright, let's add the building. Okay. Let me let's go to the storehouse. No, there's no way for me to check, but let me just click. Well, we did not get an error. It went to it. It tried to drop something off. Did it though? Storehouse action added. Alright, let's get rid of this debug. We don't need it anymore. Let's go to our map manager. We're just going to test. So I don't think I even need this anymore. Let me delete it. And let me go to add to storage. It destroys the carried object. Ooh. Well, let's see. Let's see if it does it. Let's see, which villager was it? Well, he never had one to begin with. Alright, let's push play. Alright, let's click here. He's going to chop down this bush. Click the resource. He picked it up. We build a storage house. So let's see. This villager is carrying a berry. Let's click on the storage house. Whoops, I'm trying to add a building. Oh, the dummy. Another villager was like, hey, there's a task. Oh, I've been sitting here doing nothing. Let me go to the storehouse. I don't care if I have nothing, I'm going to it. So, let's go to the AI real quick. I don't think I've even shown that yet to you. So, this is going to be under characters, character villager controller. So kind of the way that the villager controller works, we have this update. It uses a character state switch. You know, there's pros and cons to this kind of state machine approach, where depending on what state it is, then it does that action. I kind of like using them. It does kind of have some problems and issues with it, but it ensures that the character is doing that thing that I want it to do. Let's see, get task. Okay. We have no logic for anything with the task, so checks if we are, oh no, so if we're carrying an object, get a task that involves dropping off resource. So right now, if the object is none, it just returns null. I don't want that. If object is not null, we want to then find a task. We don't actually want it to have it as a task to go to the storehouse. You know, because the AI should just be like, hey, I have an object, go to an interactable, find an interactable that is, let's say, storehouse. Okay, so how do we do that? Let's go to, let's see, let's go to the map manager. And so this is kind of, we could find all of the objects that have a tag, or even if it has a component. Here's the problem: if you do that during the update, it's going to search for them over and over and over again. You really just want to have a list, and then anytime the interactable is created, add it to that list. So list of interactables and let's just say new list of interactables. Awesome. Okay, so maybe in my interactable, when we wake up, we don't actually want that to be during the wake up. We want to say void start. On the start, let's add ourselves to the map manager dot instance dot interactables dot add, and we want to add this. So now we have all the interactables. Okay, so in our village controller, if let's loop through for I is 0 to map manager instance dot interactables dot count, loop through all those. If interactable is a storage object, whoops, we want to do, copy this, paste this in. We're going to, let's do some comments here. Find all the interactables define a storage object. So then we need to create a task, and then we need to add this task to this villager. So we're no longer clicking on it. Let's see. Let's do task manager dot instance dot no. Let's say task is equal to let's do I'm not really too sure where it's been a while since I've done this. So task, do we have a create task? Here we go, create task. Alright, all we need is this interactable, so we need this one. And then we need to do comma the location, which is going to be this. You know what, let's just do this. Let's just say blah, blah, blah. Say interactable is equal to this this right here. So now let's see how fast we can do this. We'll change this to interactable, change this to interactables, so I don't have to keep typing this over and over again, or copy and pasting really. Interactable, comma interactable dot transform dot position. Okay, so that creates the task, and now we want to add it. Grab the first task, keep task, we're going to say task is equal to task is equal to task manager dot instance dot task not worked on I don't know if there's a code for getting the very last one. Maybe there is. And then we're going to return the task. Alright, so if we're carrying something, loop through all the interactables. If there's an interactable that's a storage object, we're going to create a task using that interactable, and then we're going to do that. And then we're going to return null in case we don't find one. Okay, cross our fingers. If it works, we'll stop the video. Alright, we got that. Let's click here. Let's click that. Crossing our fingers. Nothing doing. let's see. Task manager. All right, well, we'll just put a pause in our video. So next episode, we'll try to finish this up. See if we can get the villager to kind of automatically go and drop it off. Thanks again for watching. See you next time.